Hi, welcome to the Business Growth Journey podcast with me, Nick Termini. Today, we've got an awesome guest, Taylor Busch. Taylor, welcome to the show. How's it going?
Be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you on to be able to share your story today. But first, before we get started, how did we meet?
Well, strange man reached out to me on LinkedIn and was like, hey, love what I see on your content so far. You want to meet, have coffee? Now
Here we are. So rock and roll. So Taylor, to get started, first, let's get to know you. If you could, tell us about where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? What kind of things you do?
Yeah, so I'm a small town girl. I grew up in a little tiny town in Kansas called Beatty, Kansas. I went to high school in Marysville, Kansas. Then I went to K-State for my undergrad. My undergrad is in actually bakery science, food science and management. And now I'm a fractional CFO. So that connection is, quite a journey between the two. Let's see what else. I also went and got my master's in finance from the University of St. Mary in Leavenworth. But that was a few years after my undergrad. So a lot of stuff in there.
Okay. Let's go back to high school. Peel the layers of the onion back a little. Things people haven't thought about forever, right? Were you into any activities, sports? Like what kind of things were you doing in high school?
But yeah, always been a busybody. So I've always had a job from a really young age, which is really funny. I got paid cash under the table, don't tell anybody, at the local movie theater at age 11. I would ride my bike down there. I'd work until about 9 or 10, clean up crew on the last movie of the night, and then I'd ride my bike back home. Always was doing sports. I
Wait,
did
wait,
some,
wait, wait.
yeah, cleaning popcorn. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Free popcorn, free pop, and they paid me cash under the table. I mean, what's not to love about that?
Oh, man, this is exciting. We are off to a blistering start here. Okay. And so what other types of jobs did you have in high school?
So I wanted to be a veterinarian when I grew up. I actually wanted to be a veterinarian at a zoo. That was my mission in life. And so then when I could finally drive, I got a job at the local vet clinic. And of course, that's really fun, scooping poop and cleaning dog runs and doing all that kind of stuff. Really glamorous job there. But they let me sit in on surgeries and get to watch a lot of really, really cool stuff. And then I got to work the large animals. So palpating cows and doing all the vaccines and stuff. And just got to learn all of that too. So I had that pretty much through my entire high school journey. And then my senior year, I got pregnant in high school. Another story to tell. But I couldn't do the vet job anymore. And so then I became a telemarketer. And if you want to grow thick skin, become a late night telemarketer. It's a lot of fun. Really is. Hi, my name's Taylor. People immediately hanging up on you. So much fun.
Okay, so we've got just this is going to be fun. I can already see how this is going to go. So you've done telemarketing. You wanted to be a vet. You ended up majoring in food science and management, and then got a master's in finance. This story is about telling your journey, and I'm already getting dizzy because I can see this is going to be a lot of fun. So first of all,
Buckle up.
growing up, did you have a lot of different animals? Did you have a lot of pets?
Nick, what a question.
My wife grew up on a farm and loves all animals. So I what as you were saying, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be some good pet stuff.
Yes, I did. We've always had pets, and I was the kid that was always bringing home baby animals. I think at the age of third grade, my dad came into my room and I had one of those fake fridges, that the play fridges. And he opened it for some reason. I have no idea why he thought to open it. And I had 3 baby bunnies in there that I had smuggled into the house that I was feeding and raising in my bedroom that no one knew. And just throughout my entire childhood, that's what I did. I had a pet raccoon named Pickles at one point in time.
Pickles.
And then
Pickles lived in the house.
yeah, oh yeah, sure.
How old was Pickles when you had him?
Teeny tiny baby. And again, I love my dad. He was so supportive of the quirkiness that was Taylor. And
Yes.
so I got home from school one day and there was like a carrier on the front porch. And my dad goes, "If you can tame it, you can keep it." I was like, "Challenge accepted, Dad. Absolutely." Tiny baby raccoon in there. Took me a day to win its trust, and then it was just attached at my hip the rest of the time. Bottle fed it, took it with me everywhere. I was playing softball at the time. And so we'd take this carrier to the field with us, and people were like, "Oh," and they'd think it was like a kitten or something. I'm like, "Raccoon." So,
Check out his hands.
mhm, mhm.
Okay, okay, this is good stuff. How many pets do you have now? I've seen one.
Oh, yeah, you're probably gonna see him in the background. I've got a cat named Eve, short for evil, and then I've got a golden retriever that is passed out on the floor right next to me, and then I've got a chocolate lab somewhere in this house. 2 dogs, 1 cat.
Awesome. All right. So and then you mentioned so your senior year, you had a baby.
Mhm.
Awesome. And in that, like what how did your life perspective shift? Like you said, you started to go from wanting to be a veterinarian to telemarketing, and like all of a sudden you're wearing a lot of different hats
Yeah, real quick.
as a grown up real fast.
Yeah, because there's no test either to have a baby, you know? There's no things you have to go through before they let you do that. They just hand you one. But, yeah, I don't what's really interesting is that people ask me all the time, they're like, "I don't know how you did it," or like, "I don't know how you kept on the same trajectory that you were going to do." And at the time, for me and my brain, like, there was no other choice. Like, I was gonna go to college, I was gonna stay on the same path that I was gonna do. It was just gonna look a little bit different. At the time, had roommates lined up. So then I was like, "Hey, I'm actually making my own roommate,
Yeah.
so there's no to share rent. It's fine."
Yep.
Wasn't staying up late partying, but I was definitely staying up late taking care of a baby. So like same themes, right? All of the same things, lack of sleep, going through college, doing that, just a little bit different vision of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know, just kept
I mean,
going.
that's a great way to put it too. I mean, I think I was 35 when we had our oldest son, and I thought that, I was like, "Am I qualified for this?" So, I mean, is there a point where you're ever ready?
I don't think so. Nope.
First time changing a diaper is the first time, right?
It is. It is actually the first rodeo. And you don't know a lot more by the second rodeo either. So
So I can confirm that as well. Okay, cool. So then now you are learning, sticking to the plan, growing up fast, and created your own roommate, which I love the way you put that. And I mean, like you're learning life lessons about resiliency quicker than most, right? Like a lot of people go to college to become fine tune their immaturities, and where you were doing, staying up late, but you know, developing a understanding of yourself, but also growing as a person to grow a person.
and really learning that like motivation is like made up and discipline is everything. Like that's what I learned through that season of life is that you're gonna wake up and you're never gonna be motivated.
Yeah,
But staying disciplined to the plan and holding yourself accountable to it were like the biggest lessons that I
I mean it's never ending, right?
learned.
Okay, so in college, you went to so what did you always been into baking and love cooking? Like what was that like?
Yeah.
And as a new mom, that what a great synergy, right?
Yeah, and I always like that was when I was stressed as a kid or like really was dealing with something, my place to hide was in the kitchen. I like to go in there and like it was such a peaceful place for me. I could put everything right into a container, and then if I did all the steps exactly the way that it was supposed to, it would come out the way that it was supposed to. Which, again, lesson in life, you can make the exact right choices and it still end up absolutely terrible for you. And for me, baking was the one thing that was like, no, if I do this the way I'm supposed to do it, the outcome is going to be the way I want it to be. And so I always just hid in that. So when I got to college and I needed to make a living, for me and my son, I needed something that was flexible that I could do with him, and still do my schoolwork. And so I was like, I should just bake. I'm just gonna start a bakery business. And so I made wedding cakes and cupcakes and pies out of my apartment, got all the licensing, went through, got my first LLC and all of those things. It was so exciting. And then to like supplement in between wedding season, I would sell at the farmers markets. And again, such a great thing. Talk about a great sales pitch. Dress up your adorable son in a little stroller and say, I'm a poor single mom. Please help and buy our baked goods. Just killing it at the farmers market.
Oh, this is great. Well, okay, so you're giving me a lot of good stuff here. And, like becoming a parent the first time, no matter your age, it's the first time. Opening your first LLC, no matter your age, is the first time, right? And so a lot of these things, I mean, you're learning heavy big stuff quickly at a young age. I mean, I think I was 40 when I opened, started my company. And all the fundamental things you have to do to start a company are again the same whether you're 18 or 40, and you're still learning. And anytime you're doing something, you're dumb. Like you are having confidence that like you don't even know what questions to ask. And there so many moments you're like, man, how did I mess that up? It's so obvious. And I hear the stories time and time again. Everybody goes through that. And so for you to be able to I'm sure it was, seemed like a lot. It was a lot, but like you're fast tracking like growth at a rapid pace. And then the other thing is you're talking about cooking. I have not used a recipe once in my life. I love to cook. And you're talking about getting predictable results from following the ingredients. I mean, like if I'm grilling chicken on my big green egg, it's a 50-50 shot. Like the ceiling is high, but the floor is still too low.
Really, really low.
And when you follow the ingredients, you're right. You follow the plan, follow the recipe, and you get predictable results. That's another beautiful lesson. What other types of like as you start your own LLC and your baking cup with first of all, what's your favorite thing to bake? Flavor, pie, cake? What is it?
I'll give you 2 answers. My most requested is my apple pie.
Pie.
Yeah,
Never
and it's a classic.
ingredients.
Yeah, they love it. It's classic.
Yep.
My favorite thing to make, though, is homemade cinnamon rolls. I love to do that.
Frosting on top or like
But yeah, and, like, definitely like cream cheese frosting, and, like, heavily weighted on the cream cheese over anything else because if we're gonna go big, we're gonna do it.
yeah.
But yeah.
And so as your son's growing up, he gets to try all this delicious stuff mom's making too.
Yeah, and don't worry, there was definitely a season of a little bit plumper Taylor because if you didn't sell all of the goods, we had to eat them. And I've got 0 self-restraint, none at all. So that freshman
Man,
15 in college was probably a freshman 20 or 30 for Taylor, but that's okay. We got it right back off.
the freshman 15 was not from keg beer, it's from cakes and pies.
Sure was.
Okay, cool. And like what as you got your baking company off the ground, what parts, obviously the baking, but what parts of the business did you gravitate to and like the most? Was it interaction at the farmers market? Was it trying new stuff, marketing? Like what'd you like?
Loved 2 pieces. I loved being, like, with people. I loved being out there chit-chatting with people at the farmer's market or meeting with, like, brides and grooms and, like, really just listening to their story, like, more than anything, like, getting to know other people. Looking back now, I love like, that was one of the pieces that I loved the most, and then the other thing that I loved was, like, trying to figure out the numbers and come up with, like, the most readily recreatable formula to, like, make profit. And, like, again, at the time, I didn't necessarily know what that meant because I was 18 and stupid and hadn't been taught finance, but I loved looking at my recipes and, like, try and find ways to, like, keep the recipe intact, but, like, make more profit off of it. And so those were the 2 pieces that I gravitated towards the most.
Okay, cool. And so like as a food science, it's food science and management major.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
is that two separate majors?
It's dual at the same time, like, we you just go through at the same time.
Okay. And Like, as you were going through that, what were you learning about food?
So much. So as you said earlier, like you don't look at a recipe now. I don't have to look at a recipe now because I understand the science behind every piece that's going into it.
Okay, so you're breaking it down to pH or whatever.
But yeah, just doing like a mad scientist in there sometimes. And what's really funny is that like my mom, I love my mom to pieces, and she like is the one that like really like helped me in the kitchen and like we did that. But she gets so frustrated with pie crust, and, like, pie crust is scientific, okay? Like, it is the most scientific of the things to make, and every holiday, she's like, "Taylor, what am I doing wrong with my pie crust?" And every holiday, I will tell her exactly what she's doing wrong with her pie crust because she asked me, and then somehow we end up in a fight every single time, and I look at my dad, and I'm like, "She asked me what was wrong with her pie crust." He's like, "Yeah, she didn't actually want that answer from you, ever." So, um,
So the rhetorical question for feedback. I didn't actually want criticism. Yeah,
yeah,
I get
yeah,
that. Okay.
yeah.
Oh, and for someone that has a videos for a mental throat punch, you're probably not the right person to ask for. Why did the pie crust work out?
I mean, this shouldn't have been a surprise. She raised me as the human that I am. I've always been brutally honest.
You're acting forward and honest, right?
Yes, like, in a kind and loving way. I'll say sorry before and after, but I'm
I'm with you though. Is the pie crust good or not? How do we improve it? Pretty straightforward. The goal is to get it right, not to be right.
exactly.
Okay, so at what point, like as you have your baking company, you're going through and getting your degree in food and management. Are you looking at it like you wanted to open your own bakery, like larger bakery, scale a bakery, open a what was your vision for where you go next?
Yeah, so up until pretty much my sophomore year of college, I was still on the vet track. So like I was still doing all the classes to get my pre-vet degree so that I could go on and get the veterinarian degree. I had
Wait.
like the
You said up till college?
sophomore year of college, yeah. So
Okay.
first
So you were still becoming a vet, but getting a food and science.
no, so that was where I transitioned. So sophomore
Gotcha,
year,
gotcha, gotcha.
I transitioned from pre-vet track, okay, all of this over here,
Yeah,
just hard pivot left to the bakery science thing. And it was because I had started baking business on the side
yeah.
and I was doing the pre-vet stuff and I was so bored in the classes. Like I remember sitting in I think it was like the genetics class. And I was like, my gosh, if I have to do 4 more years of this, I'm going to actually die. Like, I can't possibly fathom this. I still think that I would have liked the end result of being a veterinarian and doing the activities, but the 7 years to get there was going to kill me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, had to have a little self reflection. This is not what we're going to do. So hard pivot left to the bakery science. And then it really was like my plan. There's a little cafe in my tiny little hometown. And at the time that this happened, it went up for sale, which had been owned by the same people for a really, really long period
Yeah.
of time. And that was the plan. I was going to finish my degree and then I was going to go back home to my hometown and I was going to run the little small town cafe and just be like that picture perfect small town cafe girl, coffee, cinnamon rolls, all the things. And obviously that didn't pan out, but I had a whole business plan. I had a 30-page business plan typed out. I had bankers lined up, like all of the things, but just life had different plans for me. So I ended up not doing that, but that was the plan.
Okay, cool. And was it like a confusing time where you realized you didn't want to become a vet, or was it more you knew what you wanted to run to in the world of baking?
Yeah, it was definitely the second. Like I wasn't confused. I was just so sure that the path that I was on was not the right one. Like there's something really powerful about that the minute that you realize it. It's that whole like euphemism of like if you missed your stop, you don't stay on the train, or if you realize you're going to the wrong direction, you don't stay on the train for two more stops. You get off at the next one and readjust. And that was it. Like I was like, this is not it. Next stop is this. Let's go this direction to see how we pivot from there.
Okay. Okay, so then as you're going through school, the bakery came up for sale, didn't pull the trigger on that. Then what was next?
So I was doing my bakery business, and then once my kiddo got to a point where I was so lucky. I say this to almost all the moms on like they should be really jealous. I had my baby really young, but I got the opportunity to be with him pretty constantly for the first 2 years of his life. And so that I'm so grateful for that. But got to a point where, like, he needed to be, like, close to his peers and, like, he needed to be around other kids, and he was getting to a point where to be in, like, kindergarten and preschool and stuff. So when that happened, I went and actually got, like, a real job. So this was my junior year of college. I had a full-time 40 an hour week job, and then I was taking 18 credit hours so that I could finish my degree in 3 years instead of 4 years, and, raising a kid and still running the bakery business on the side.
Okay.
Um,
And you still had 24 hours in a normal day, right? Like you didn't find a
I
one thing to
didn't
fracture
find
more
a
time.
portal that was like this magical thing where you have more time in the day. I didn't have that. No. Just exhausted most of the time, but it was worth it for sure.
Right.
But because I learned a lot at that full-time job that I got. That's one of the ones that, like, I learned a lot about what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do, or how I wanted to show up as a manager and how I didn't wanna show up as a manager. So I'm grateful that I had that chance to, like, experience that piece too.
Okay, so let's just yeah. And how old's your son at this point?
He's 14, he's a freshman in
Oh,
high school right now. Yeah, I've got a high schooler. It's fine. I'm not crying about it. It's okay. I'll get through. Only 3 years left. So
I've got a preschool graduation on Saturday, so I'm in a totally different world. Uh, this what a cool story. So when you were in college, still you have the full time job, you still have the bakery, you're growing as a mom and figuring yourself out. Like some of the biggest challenges people have is self management with their time. And if you were able to do all that at what, like 20 years old, like what are some of the things you learned and how to prioritize your time and like how to map out what your schedule was and what you wanted to accomplish?
it's a really good question. I have a really silly answer for you.
Yeah.
Always just envision what my future best self would be doing. And that's the path that I chose. It was never the easiest one, right? It's like you have an easy choice in front of you and you have a hard choice in front of you. Only one of them is in an alignment with who you want to be. Normally, every single time for me, it's the hard choice. And so, just really buckling down and knowing that the actions that I was doing at that time in my life was going to lead to who I wanted to be, and then just being hyper clear on my priorities. And at the time, it was being a really good mom and like showing up for him and like making sure that he had a really stable home life, like that he didn't experience the fact that he had a young mom. Like it wasn't even a thought in his brain that I was different than any other mom. Knowing that I wanted my degree, that was really, really important to me. And it didn't need to be for what I ended up doing in my life, but that was a priority for me, and then just learning as much as I can. So just being hyper clear on my priorities and balancing those. And unfortunately, like at that point in my life, a lot of things fell to the back burner, which is like friendships and like doing things that are just like tailor oriented. Like I would have loved to like go out and hang out with friends like any other college student out there and like do the spring break trips and have all those amazing memories and stuff like that, but it just wasn't in my cards, and I was okay with that because I was clear on the priorities.
Okay. Y- there's a lot there again. All right. So what you just said, when you were focused on growing into your future self at 20 years old, and looking at what the journey would be and understanding that the path of growth would be what you were doing and prioritizing. If you were doing that at 20, most people at 55 haven't learned that. And they're like, where the hell did time go? Like, what have I been doing? Right? Like you see people that like go through and never understand it. So that's pretty profound that at 20, you were able to look at is are the actions I'm taking leading me closer to myself that I want to grow into, right? And, like, I realize you said it's a silly answer. You know how many books I've read, videos I've watched to learn this stuff? And, it's refreshing to hear. And, if you're able to learn those things early and like, we all know life is not a straight line. To get to your goals, it's like being in a boat where you're all over the place to eventually get there. It's not like riding in a train, but at the same time, like rapidly you would be able to grow as a person having that mindset and actually applying. That's pretty cool.
It wasn't easy.
What it no, hell no. What do you mean it was like no shit? It wasn't easy. Like
Like, it sounds simple, but it wasn't.
no, and another thing, like you look at, people that grow to be successful, they learn how to do hard things, right? And so while it sounds like you had a rock solid mindset, human nature is still like there's days you're like, what have I gotten myself into?
I can
Right?
pinpoint one time exactly where I was like, "What are you doing right now, Taylor? Like, what are you doing?" It was, again, taking full time, and I was taking online classes at the time after I switched my major. And so I could only do my proctored exams at about 2 o'clock in the morning, 2 a.m. I would set my alarm, wake up at 1, do a little bit of studying, and then have my proctored videoed exams going on at 2 a.m. because that was the only time that I could promise uninterrupted time. And I remember after taking one of them, my kid crawls out of bed right when I get done with it because kids, they wake up whenever they want. And like it's like 4:15 in the morning. He crawls out of bed. I'm like crying because just took this really hard test. There's a baby that needs mom's attention. And I'm like, I got to go to work in about 3 hours. Like, there's no time for sleep now. And I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing right now? Why are we doing this? I'm insane. But
You,
power through.
so I guess why hold back, right? I got a marketing degree, and as you said, proctored exam. I'm like, I don't know. What is a proctored exam? Like, what is that?
So it's this, like, you're on video and you have to pan your entire house to show that nobody's in there giving you answers and that you don't have like all of the answers behind you. And like there's just a person watching you the entire time you take an exam. And like you want to feel pressure on something you already feel stupid about. That's real fun. Like,
I think I could have contributed to the issue of why that existed because I was in college when online classes came out, and I still have dreams that I didn't graduate. So I'll stop there. They didn't have proctored exams at that time. We had to go to the library to use the internet. It was beautiful. Oh, okay. So this is good stuff, Taylor. So and what was your full time job at this? Was it the telemarketing?
it's not. I was working at Valley Vet Supply in Marysville, Kansas.
Yeah.
They're a local place, but we distribute like internationally as far as like shipping goes. Really funny. At one point in time, my entire family was working there. My dad was working in the warehouse. My brother was working in the warehouse. I was working in the storefront, and my mom was working in the call center.
Yeah.
So they employed all of us.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And you guys can hang out on lunch breaks, right?
I mean, my dad didn't think I was cool, which was really rude because, like, he'd been there for forever. And so all of his friends in the warehouse knew him through and through. And they knew me from like pictures of like growing up and whatnot. So I start there and I like try to go hang with the cool crowd when I get there. And dad's like, yeah, no, you can't join us. You're not cool enough. I'm like, hurtful. Okay.
Yeah, but he lets you keep all the animals.
He did. He did. Very supportive in that manner. Yes, he was.
Oh man. Okay, so now is your time getting your undergrad is wrapping up. What did you have your sights on?
So I was at that job working 40 hours a week and I loved what I did. I liked being in the storefront. My job was selling vaccines and like helping cattle farmers with choosing the right vaccines and like stuff like that. Like the knowledge that's up in this brain is amazing and terrifying at the same time.
Yeah, it's like
I know. It's like what is happening up there. So I was doing that and I loved it. Like I loved chit-chatting with them, hearing their stories. Like again, these are people that like are building businesses with what they know. And at that time in the community that I'm in, it's farming and ranching. And so I loved doing that. And I honestly didn't think I was going to change. Like, it paid my bills, which I'm embarrassed to say at the time, like what I was making gross wise. Looking back now, it's insane. But like, I didn't see it changing. I was like, I'm comfortable here. I can, leave if I need to go to Brady's sporting events, and I'm close to my mom and dad. And like, this is fine. I'm totally fine with this. And then I just had this. So I'm going to skip timelines a little bit here. I got married. Basically, it was my senior year of college. So we got married. He was actually living in Leavenworth at the time, getting his physical therapy degree because we both went to K State, and then he went on to get his physical therapy degree. And I say this sentence all the time. I was like a single married mom. And that is like the most confusing statement to
No,
say to
I
someone.
see where this is going exactly. Go ahead.
And like, so I was married and I had all of like that piece of it, but he wasn't there with us daily. Like, it was me by myself. Like, I was having to do school drop-offs and late night like wake ups and like all of the chaos that went into raising a child.
Yep.
And we had agreed that that was the right thing to do at the time. There was just no other path that we could see. But I really think that's where it changed for me when I was like, there actually is another path, Taylor. It's a scary one. Like, it's a very scary one, but there is another path to take. And it was putting in my 2 weeks notice and moving down to the Kansas City metro with absolutely zero plan, zero place to live, and no job lined up. Just one morning woke up and was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, you reach that point in burnout or like chaos or whatever it is, and you're like, I can't do this anymore. I have to do something different.
Yep.
And that was it.
Yeah. I mean, you hit you always hear people talk about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. I'm like, I've actually never been comfortable, so I don't even understand what the hell you're saying. But with that, like you've already learned so much about yourself in a lot of life experience in a real short amount of time, in helping develop and be a great mom to your son, starting your own company, getting a degree, switching degrees, getting married. I'm sure the dating, you learn a lot about yourself in that too. So at this point, what what are you looking at? What's next? But how are you going to continue to grow into your future self, as you said earlier?
And it was, and it was the moment of like, my future self is not someone that is complacent. My future self is someone that sees obstacles and figures out how to overcome them. And the obstacle in the place was like, I need support. I need my family together. We need to be under one roof all together at one time.
Yep.
And how do we make that happen? And so it was, I need to be closer there because he can't be closer here. So found our way down to the Kansas City metro, which I'm forever grateful for now, and then find a job that allows me to be there for my kid. So I needed like a normal 8 to 5 job, and then be able to leave for sporting events. And like, that was the plan. That's what I needed to find.
That's awesome. And so, what was the job?
Um, I mean, I jumped around a little bit when I first came down here, but what it finally landed on that was like the long-term one for a while was a little small boutique real estate firm was looking for just like a front office manager. And I was like, perfect. I can do that, do a little bit of finance, answer some phones, problem solve. Perfect. Right up my alley.
Yeah.
So I got the job and I was there for about, I want to say like 3 months. And it was like, actually, you've got much more skill set. Like, we're not going to use you for that purpose.
I think I
You're going to
know.
go get your we're going to go get your real estate license. You're going to start doing a little bit of real estate. And then it grew into, I was there for 6 or 7 years, 7, and was able to basically be like the financial person right before I left. So that led up to like my transition into fractional CFO was from that.
That's awesome. So, well, I mean, you can probably expand on that because the real estate firm you does a lot of complex things in development and leasing. Like, you've got a lot of great experience from that as well, right?
Oh yeah, like, talk about learning, on, like, warp speed.
Yeah.
Like, I went in there and it was like just learning every single bit about commercial real estate I could possibly get my hands on. And I'm a very like self-taught person because I don't like to look stupid in rooms, or I didn't like to look stupid. Now I'm like totally fine looking stupid. So it was like all of the research behind the scenes. Like I remember staying up late at night and like just studying everything I possibly could on real estate and development.
Yep.
And I gravitated towards the numbers. So like I loved the real estate piece. I liked working with clients and doing that. But like I really gravitated towards the back of house, like how can we make a deal super profitable? And like how do the numbers talk to each other? And like at the time, the business was doing like redevelopment projects and development, ground up development projects, hotel development. And like I got the opportunity to see like behind the curtain on all of it.
Yeah.
And like I just, there, we had so many LLCs. I think we had maybe like 30 or 40 LLCs that we were managing at one time. And like Taylor being Taylor was like, oh, I'll manage the books for that. Oh, I'll manage the books for that. And again, like you always like wonder how your path kind of like comes together. But the guys that own the boutique firm, real estate firm, also had a cattle business. And I was like, oh, I know everything about vaccines and like
Yep.
conception rates and like all of those things. And they're like, wait, what? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, I'm be happy to help with that and like manage the farm operations and like do the books for the farm and all of those things. And so I just kept taking on more and more. I was like, any other financial stuff you need? Let me do. And just warp speed learning on the financials behind commercial development.
Yeah, and you just brought up a great point. This whole podcast is based on in the journey. Like there's so many different scenarios where your experience comes into play, and at the time when you're learning or in certain or different jobs, it's like, oh, this isn't going anywhere. But there are moments where it's like that Clark Griswold and the Christmas lights go on, and gets it together, and everything starts to come together. It
Yeah.
sounds like you're starting to hit your stride on finding what areas that you want to continue to grow, to challenge you, and actually inspire you to move forward.
Yeah, it was. They were great.
And looking at, okay, so at what point does your master's in finance come into play?
Doing all the financials for these companies. And like I'm sitting in rooms that I shouldn't be allowed to sit in.
They're
And
the
I'm so
best.
grateful for
I
that. I'm
love
like,
being the dumbest guy in the room.
no, I'm like, I have no idea how I got here, but I'm excited to be. Love
Yeah.
it. Um, and so I was doing all this stuff. And this is where a little bit of learning comes into play for me. Uh, couldn't command the room the way that I wanted to. I was really young. I've always looked really young too. I'm in a male dominated field, second of all, and for both commercial real estate and finance on the CFO side, like those are both very male dominated fields.
And what about the animal industry?
I know, like just all male dominated stuff. I don't know what that's about. Again, childhood trauma. Let's not open that gate. So I was in these rooms where I couldn't command the respect or like even like to get someone to listen to my perspective. And I kept hitting this wall of like, why can't I? And at the time, it was, I just need to prove my worth more. And I was like, if I have an MBA, if I have my master's in finance, it's really hard to argue with the analysis that I'm giving, was what I was trying to get to. So I was like, I'll just go get my master's degree. I've done school and work before at the same time. I totally can do it again, even though I swore to myself up and down I was never going to do that again. Here I was being a mom, going to school full time and working full time again. But it that time it really made sense and it did make me a better financial professional for sure. But I went about it for the wrong reasons. It was to like prove my worth. And I've learned now that if you feel like you have to prove your worth, you haven't built the trust foundation yet. And that's ultimately what you need to be working on instead of proving your.
Okay, so there's a lot there, right? Okay, so one, could you elaborate on the trust aspect you're talking about?
Yeah, I could. So this is a lesson that I have I've actually just now, I feel like I just now mastered it. Where it was like I would go through these like over delivering, like going above and beyond anything that was ever asked of me because I in here truly did not believe that I was capable of doing it. Like the imposter syndrome inside of me was so real that like I thought I had to keep doing that.
Wait, Taylor, the note I took when I asked this question that I was going to come back to was about imposter syndrome. Beautiful segue and lead in, right? Because everybody to grow to the next phase has something inside of them that they have to overcome to
Hmm.
be able to command the room like you're talking about. But maybe they actually commanded the room the whole time and just didn't believe in themselves.
Exactly. It was the confidence behind what I was saying. Like I didn't have confidence
Yeah.
behind what I was saying. And if I didn't have confidence in myself and what I was doing, how could I ever expect somebody else to?
I I think, I won't say, but I've experienced and talked through this with a lot of people. I know it's something that I've had to continue to grow through. And I think it's infinite because you keep getting in bigger scenarios where you have, unconscious incompetence and you're like, what the hell? I don't even know what to ask. I don't even know what I'm missing. Then you have
Yeah.
conscious incompetence, like, oh, I really don't know this.
You
And then it's
don't know.
dive in and learn, right?
Yeah.
And then grow through that. And with learning and growth being infinite, it's never ending. I think it's just something you learn to navigate more and understand. But the first couple of times in battling through imposter syndrome and the insecurities and learning to grow into your future self is a wild journey. So you were talking about trust, but the real trust was trusting yourself, right?
Trust. That was it. And that's what I learned ultimately over time was person I have to trust the most is myself. And when I talk with other people about overcoming imposter syndrome, it's more of like a track record of success. So I have a journal that I go back and look at, which is every single situation that I somehow got myself into that I had no idea what I was doing, but I still figured it out. And so the imposter syndrome is so loud for you at that time, but if you look back, you're like, "Well, I did that and I had no idea what I was doing and I was successful in it. I did that, I had no idea what I was doing and I was successful in it. So why would I possibly think, why would my track record possibly tell me that I couldn't do it this time?"
Well, and it's evidence that you've overcome it before, right? Like that you've continued to grow and win in ways that were, I would just say, they were new.
Mhm.
And something all like, so the learning to listen to your own voice and trust your own intuition or consciousness or whatever you want to call it, is it a real thing too? I mean, I know that's an area I've really grown in the last couple of years of, like, it used to be I can work harder, I can hustle, I can figure it out. And now I kind of like to let things, like, see where they're gonna flow to. And I've learned another thing is learning to say no. And like, that's something maybe I like it too much now. But like, it used to be, I'll figure it out, I'll say yes. There's always a way to continue to grow. I mean, like, I remember when I started my company, it was I can hustle harder and figure anything out faster at whatever pace I need to grow. And that's where burnout can come into play if you're not aware of your future self that you want to go to, and be able to build a plan that is showing growth towards what you're doing, and
Mhm.
knowing that it's not going to go right. You're gonna have to pivot, and you weren't
You're
right
always
about
miss.
something in the beginning, which means you got to backtrack to build a foundation to start over.
Yeah.
It's a wild ride, and everything you're saying. I think anybody that's hit levels of success, or started their own company or taking one over or growing their career, eventually you got to face who's in the mirror and be able to grow there the most. So do you have any rituals or habits that disciplines you brought up earlier that you stay true to make sure you're continuing to be mind, body, spirit, whatever you want to do, like, meditation, journaling. I love doing a good gratitude journal
Mhm.
morning and night. What kind of things do you do that you'd be willing to share that it kind of help you stay centered and go in the direction you want?
Yeah, so first of all, work out because that rage has gotta go somewhere, right? And so I've got a full gym built out in my garage. And when I get frustrated, we just go in there and we lift weights. And then I usually am always like walking outside in one way, shape, or form, like being outside in the sun, connecting to nature, super important for me to like feel really grounded.
Wait, I was gonna ask that. Do you do grounding? Do you
Yeah.
take off your shoes and
Touch some grass, go outside, touch
well,
some grass. So important. Like, my neighbors will see me out there just walking paces in the yard, like, "What is this crazy person doing out there touching grass? Don't mind me, it's fine." So I'll do that, and then, my, like, weekly ritual is my mental throat punch Thursdays. I've been doing it since November of 2024.
okay?
And the quotes are the ritual that I used to be doing, and now I just make them public. So it is stuff that I need to be saying to myself or I need to be hearing. And I'm like saying it to myself in the mirror. And I'm like, hey, if I'm hurting my own feelings, I might as well go out and hurt everybody else's feelings at the same time. So that weekly ritual is me reflecting on what I need to hear, and then I just share it with the world. And that comes from my journaling that I do very regularly. And then I like to do a life audit as much as I can, which is like, what am I currently doing right now that I absolutely should be not be doing? Like, this is none of my business to be doing any of this. What am I currently doing right now that I don't want to be doing? Because I need to figure out a way to leverage that. And then what is my future self doing? Only doing. And so I'll do that usually once a year. I would like to do it quarterly, but that never actually happens.
Okay. Uh yeah. So what got you down the path? Like you brought it up that when you were younger, you were looking at growing into your future self. Were you just cranking out Tony Robbins videos or what led you to start to think like that?
I think that our childhood and our parents shape a lot of our thought processes a lot more than most people think. And from a really young age, my parents worked really, really hard. My mom would work 3 jobs growing up, and she was always up late at night. She did a transcription job at night, and I would remember sitting next to her at the computer because that's the only time that we got to spend together is if I just sat next to her while she was typing. And her day job was so draining on her. Like, I remember just how emotional it was. And I was a baby of the family, so I was a little bit forgotten. And so that again meant I was in rooms I shouldn't be allowed to be in, listening to like stresses of adults. Like Taylor's just over there in the corner, nobody knows, and they're like just trauma dumping all of life problems. And I just remember being like, I don't want that to be my future. I know for a fact that I don't want to be the age that my parents were being and like just not happy with the work environment. Not that they weren't happy with life, but the work environment. And so I think that made me really hyper clear on like what I didn't want my life to look like or what I didn't want to experience. And so that kind of led me to like, what do I want it to look like? I want joy and whimsy and like I want to love what I'm doing. Like I want to get up every morning and be so excited for the work that I'm doing that it like truly doesn't feel like work. However, that was a pipe dream, as we all know, because we can love the job that we're doing, but still absolutely despise it some days, just so much. But
Oh, John.
like it just was, you
It's
know,
more inspiring and more fun most of the time.
most of the time. But like I don't wake up every day and like, yay, I get to go do client work. There are times
Go
I'm like,
through a punch.
gosh, I can do this. You can do this. Fake it till you make it. Pretend like you're loving it.
I
And so I think,
hate the saying "fake it till you make it." No, seriously. Like every path of my career, starting at a new point, go fake it till you make it. I'm like,
first of all, I don't even know how to fake it. Like, I don't even know the rules
what do
of
you mean
faking it,
fake?
let alone to do that.
My face always says everything. I don't hide my facial expression.
No.
You give me that same vibe. Like the fake it till you make it thing. Like I think that a way to reframe it is growing into your future self, and your future self will understand how to navigate these circumstances.
Hmm.
But to get to your future self, you got to trip up along the way to be able to know what to learn and grow. So the fake it till you make it thing, that still drives me crazy.
No, it's like failure to figure it out type of thing for me. Like, I want,
Fail forward. Here we go, baby.
yeah,
One of my favorite things is when you're like at a restaurant or somewhere and you see that person like in the waiter or waitress's hip pocket. And I'm like, wait, are you in training? And they're like, yeah. And you can tell they're kind of nervous, like, that's awesome. Like I've been doing so many things and it's really cool to see like you're taking notes, you're excited, you're gonna know really good. And like getting them pumped up instead of like, don't feel bad that you're new. Everybody was new at something at some point. So feel
Yes.
good about it and kick some ass. Let's go.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
I did watch a lot of Tony Robbins videos growing up, just like let's be real here. And then a lot of Chicago Bulls stuff, I grew up in
Mm.
the 90s, Michael Jordan, Phil Jackson. I was doing visualization techniques when I was like 8 years old. I mean, like, it was just kind of a product of the 90s. Little grunge, a lot of Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Okay, so what the hell were we talking about?
We were on probably how I knew my future self. Like, was Tony Robbins part of my life, and like, how did I
No,
know?
and your explanation's incredible because back to what we talked about in the beginning, what is it you're running to or from, right? Like you were creating an event. Do you do vision boards?
But yeah,
You
and
give
my
me a
vision
vision
board,
board vibe.
they're always on my background of my phones and my iPads. Like I create one for the year and it is in front of me constantly.
Yeah.
I also do like a life bucket list every single year, like hyper
Oh,
clear on what I want to achieve.
okay, cool. So now that you've got your master's degree, you've moved to Kansas City, you're married, your son's doing great in sports and school. Um, you have been in real estate. Like what was next for you at this point?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to summarize this as clear as I can. So actually, kid was not doing great in school. He's a great kid. My son is like the smartest kid ever, okay?
Got it.
Um, but like any other parent, we go through like seasons of life that are not easy. And the season of life that I was in with Brady at the time was we couldn't get him diagnosed for like ADHD or any of those things, but like he was an absolute terror in the classroom. Couldn't figure out why, just a terror in the classroom. And there was this program that we needed to do to like that was going to help him. Like it was exactly what we needed. It was going to help him. The price tag was $16,000.
A
I was
year, a
making
month, a day. Well,
$16,000 for a 3-month program for like after school stuff. And again, I'm the only one working. I'm married. My husband's still going to PT school. And we were making, I think I was making $35,000 gross at the time
gotcha.
with commissions that could come in if deals hit. Okay. But guaranteed 35 for a family of 3 in the Kansas City metro. And just the absolute weight of like, I can't afford that. Like that's not an option for us, but it's something that I desperately needed. And again, Taylor did the buckle down thing that Taylor does. And I took all of the program requirements that they were going to do and I made my own curriculum and I did it with Brady to like help him get through the problems that he had.
Wow.
But it was that lesson, and then at the time at work, we had brought in a fractional CFO. And like many people, when I say that term out loud, I had the same reaction. What the hell is a fractional CFO? It was a job I didn't know existed at the time. And so I met this guy at our work and I was like so excited because I was like, this is going to be the opportunity like that. I want to do that. Like, this is the opportunity that I get to learn. And I remember in the moment being so excited. I was like, yes, I get to learn from somebody to know what I need to do that job and start working side by side and realize almost immediately that I have all of the same skill sets. I know all of the things. I was doing all of the things already. And I just built this program for Brady, sent him, all of this stuff. And I was like, okay, if I can do that, I can recreate that system there. And I have the skill sets for this job. Why don't I just start my business now? If I want to be a fractional CFO and I can do all of it, let's just do it now. And so I again, just jumped in head first and was like, all right, I'm going to put in my 2 weeks notice. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to be a fractional CFO and let's just do this. Let's just figure it out.
Okay, so I'm processing this because when we met, I know a lot of fractional CFOs, right? And when we met, I asked you the exact same question. what does a fractional CFO do? So, and I'm like in the circles that this is discussed and no, but I've gotten so many different variations. So could you please explain what a fractional CFO does?
Strategic financial partner. I am what you think your CPA does, but they actually don't do because it's not their job. And I work hand in hand with the rest of your financial team. So I'm not a bookkeeper. I don't do your books. I'm not a controller. I oversee them on your team, but I am the financial guardrails of a business. And I do it for multiple businesses at the same time, which is where the fractional piece comes into play. So I'm a contractor on a like part-time basis basically, and I am helping you strategically plan your finances. I am taking your tax compliance and into play. I am taking what the bookkeeper is doing and I am asking the creative questions knowing where we're going on how we need to structure it to get there, like the exact right way. Do we take 100% depreciation this year, or is it better financially for us to actually spread it out? Because I know where the business is going. Your CPA never asks those questions, nor do they care. Their only job is to make sure the IRS doesn't show up and go, "You owe us more money." That's not my job. Like, that's theirs. But I play the game. I know enough tax stuff to know what we need strategically to help business owners save and plan and then make sure growth is on pace so we don't suddenly get to a point where we're like, "Oh my gosh, we're panicking. We either have too much business and can't handle it or we have too many people and no business." And I'm, you know, managing between the two.
One of those clearly sounds like a better issue.
Yes. More too much.
Okay. And so what are some other things as a fractional CFO? Like if you were to start with a brand new company, what are some of the things you would do to onboard them and then work with them in an ongoing basis?
Yeah, so it's always getting to source of truth first, which I like you meet business owners and like
The reason I'm laughing is the mental throat punch tying in with what you're saying here is you're looking at numbers. And then we've talked about being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And I think at this point, it's not about you being comfortable and comfortable. It's about the person that you're determining the source of truth.
mhm, mhm. I do it in a very kind and compassionate
I'm
way.
sensing a lot of kind and compassionateness in this. And so, but you're right. If you don't have the source of truth in the starting point, then we're just putting a newspaper over a hot mess and not going anywhere. We're just
Or
not
lipstick on a pig. Like a lot of times is lipstick on a pig. I'm like,
all the cliche sayings fit right here. So, but you're exactly right. If you don't have the starting point in the source of truth of here's where we are now and you get to where we want to go. And if the longer that's avoided, it can be some real issues ahead.
yeah.
Okay, so sorry to derail that. You
No, it's
start with
okay.
the source of truth.
Source of truth. And it is like just what you said there. Like I force you to confront everything that you've been avoiding in your business.
Yep.
Not because I wanna hyper focus on it, but unless we know that it's a problem and you inherently know in here, you have to agree. I can tell you 1,000 times that it's the problem, but you have to agree in here that that needs to be fixed. And then after we figure out sources of truth, we skip a little bit of the middle part and we fast forward and it's like soul searching vulnerability with Taylor. And it's like, where are you going? Like, what are you doing with your business? Why did you start this business? And the number of business owners that I sit with they're just like, well, we're growing to 20 million. We're going to whatever. I'm like, why? Is that like, is it the number that's important to you? Why that number? Where did it come from? Did we just pull it out of the sky? And like, why are you tied to it? So we skip forward to that part. And then after we finally do the soul searching and like they say, again, a lot of people don't like to set things in stone. They like to like leave a little bit open. I think I maybe
I want to
possibly.
write with a pencil, and I have a fresh eraser and whiteout right next to me.
Yeah,
Right? Well,
exactly.
wait, and there was something else you just said there that like stuck out to me. Okay, keep going. I got lost there for a second.
Yes. I mean,
Oh no, the why,
I'm
the why. So we, like I think that's pretty common that people start out and their why is crystal clear, and then they get busy working with their head down, and time and all the energy has like passed by, and they forget the why. And so like you come in as a fractional CFO, and they're like they think they need an answer that I'm marching towards this number. You're like something you said earlier is it's about the truth and being able to understand, okay, look, like I'm looking at you and I can physically see that you're not where you want to be. And what is the why? Like, what gives you the juice? How will your business feed your life instead of your life just draining towards this number? And so if you're able to help shine clarity on that, that is huge.
and it's always so funny because when people come to me, they want financial answers. Like, that's what they're coming to me
Not
for.
really what it is.
And then they get to me, like, meet with me, and they start to question it. They're like, "Why are we doing all of this stuff? Like, I came to you because I needed to fix my cash flow problem." And I'm like, "Your cash flow problem is hiding the fact that you don't know what you're doing anymore or why you're doing it. Like, that's not the issue here. There's a bigger issue at hand that we need to go and address first, and then absolutely I'll help with your cash flow problem. That's easy. Absolutely. You have to know where we're going though. I'm not driving this plane. You're doing it." And so it really is for business owners that eye-opening thing. And the reason why I need that is because a lot of times we're chasing numbers that don't line up with where they actually want to go. And I'm like, you can't align a team to a common goal if you can't explain why you're going there.
You
Like,
can't align a team to a common goal if you're not aligned yourself, right? And when you see that, like you're literally ripping this out of people.
mhm.
These some crazy moments. Okay, then on.
So then after we figure that out, then we go back to the meaty in between stuff, which is like I'm diving into every operational process that you're doing. I'm figuring out like what your team looks like, who's on the bus, who's sitting in the seats, who I can lean on for pieces of information. One of the big things that I work on and like with all of my clients is aligning team because finance tends to operate in a silo by itself, and it's the linchpin piece for your sales and your delivery team. So, your operations delivery team and your sales team, the only person in between that talks both languages is finance. And that's where the results come up is like shown. Like, that's your scorecard for how you're doing in business. And so, I align teams. I try to figure out what our KPIs are that we need to be tracking on each side. And then I figure out how to make sure that the numbers are telling the story that we actually need them to tell us.
And is that just a pretty simple process?
So simple, really easy. It's like a week. That's it. It's so great.
Oh man, this is good. It's funny, like anybody that's gone through this, like as you're telling the story, like I'm picturing everybody in their spots, and it's like okay,
And they
and so like
like
what are some of the landmines that you see a lot of companies walking around and like tiptoeing through on their finances, right? Like is it accounts payable, accounts receivable? Is it that things aren't automated? Like what are some of the right away things you're going to go in and see in certain companies?
most businesses don't have a budget. How do you know if you're on track if you don't know what the track is? Like, you're looking at your profit and loss statement every single month and you're getting down to the bottom of it and you're like, ooh, score, profit. And it's like, that should not be a surprise to you. Like, that's not a happy little accident. Your daily activities, if you're doing those, profit should never be a surprise
Was
to
that a
you.
Bob Ross reference? That was beautiful.
Little
Okay,
happy little
so wait, and I would take it further. I mean, there's many that don't even know the bottom of the profit and loss, and they know I got money in the bank and I'm good, baby.
Or they're like, hey, Taylor, I have $100,000 in profit and I've got zero money in my bank. Why is that? And I'm like, that's a really great
Yeah,
question. Profit does not equal cash,
yep.
first of all. Here are the things that come out after net profit. Did you spend any money on those things? And they're like, I did. And I was like, okay. That's on your balance sheet. We're going to go look at our balance sheet because that's telling us a different story. It's just the confusion between the two, the cash flow showing up and your net profit. They don't understand the connection between the two and what really drives it.
Okay. And what are some of the other things that you work with companies on as a fractional CFO? Because like you're peeling back some of the layers of the onion, but there's varying levels of sophistication on this type of stuff. And then tools, implementation, rhythm for how you're tracking this stuff.
Yeah, so the first first 8 to 12 weeks of our engagement is every single week, and it's about an hour every week. I'm basically trying to download the CEO's brain into my brain, like everything that's going on, why they do what they do, connecting all those pieces. Then we get to a point where we're meeting bi-weekly, and the projects that we're working on are like after the initial discovery phase. It's like trying to put the KPIs into place. And then some fun projects is really like capacity planning and like your people power. Because I work with a lot of service based businesses, and people feel like service based businesses don't have capacity, but they're the number one businesses that do because people only work 40 hours a week. I don't know if you know that, but they don't like to just work 24 hours a day like robots. And so it's really identifying those bottlenecks inside of a business and figuring out when that bottleneck is approaching and when we need to add leverage and what that leverage looks like, whether it's another person, whether it's another system, whether there's a software out there we can use that's going to save us some time to increase our capacity a little bit. So I work on that a lot with people. And then just the overall like financial health of a business and like what you actually need for like a financial structure, what you should be reviewing regularly, monthly, quarterly, annually, why you need to do it, and just like putting those systems in place.
So the bottleneck, right? Like this is fun. Who is usually the bottleneck in?
The CEO, the owner, every single time.
All right, that was the answer I expected. Yeah, Taylor. But to wrap up, I mean, one, this has been awesome. Like this is a great journey that you've been on, and being able to, thank you for sharing your story on, personal life, becoming a young mom, raising a great kid, but also starting your own company, figuring things out, learning to trust yourself, and continuing to be ready to pivot to grow into your future self. Pretty cool lesson. What is some advice, whether as a fractional CFO, as a human, that you would offer to somebody that's, has a business rocking and rolling, but is, kind of stuck and looking to hit that next growth phase? What kind of advice would you offer to them?
The turning point in my business when I started it, I started in 2021 and now, 2026. The turning point happened when I started being authentically me. I was trying to be every other fractional CFO I ever met. And the minute that I decided to stop and just be Taylor and present to the world who I am, how I teach, like the directness that I am, and like not trying to soften the edges, not trying to be quieter because that's what I was told so many times. Like all of these things, like stop trying to be what I was told to be,
Yep.
start being who I know I am. And my business literally took off and has like quadrupled since I made that decision to do that.
It,
So,
it's absolutely beautiful. It goes back to what you're talking about. Trust yourself and your own intuition.
mhm.
Plus, I mean, the finance crowd can be a little stiff too at times, right?
It's so stiff. And that's what I always get. People are like, you are not like most of the finance people that I meet. And I'm like, I'm sure not. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay. And then Taylor, to wrap up, how can somebody connect with you or track you down to reach out for your fractional CFO services?
Probably LinkedIn is the best place to go find me. So you can search Taylor Busch on LinkedIn. Go ahead and connect with me on there. You can also send me an email at it's Taylor Busch. No, it's Taylor at ceofinanceacademy.com. Or you can Google search me, find my phone number, and text me. I like whatever method that you want. Carrier pigeon also works. I'm not going to get a smoke signal. I'm not going to know if that one's for me or not, but every other method, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Taylor, Thank you so much for being on the Business Growth Journey podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.